Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Section 214 of BC Lions podcast. I'm your host, Ascent, and you might notice that I'm without two of my co-hosts for today. Um, that's because Hammer unfortunately got busy with moving around and doing things and getting ready for his trip to Chicago for the week, so he was unable to watch the game and come for a recording today. And of course, JS had unfortunately had some personal issues to deal with, and he couldn't make it to watching the game, and therefore he also made a decision not to do the recording. So, um, yeah, you're gonna be hearing my voice pretty much the entire time. So it's this is gonna be less like the traditional Section 214 podcast episode, and it's more like a like an LFR episode, but not the Leafs version. It's more of the Lions version, so it's the Lions fan reaction, and yeah, this is gonna be a bit of a quick video to go through. I mean, to be honest, I feel just as deflated from this loss as I was the last game. Although this game, I mean, it was only a marginally better experience to watch because of the sole fact that BC got points. Um, but you know, I'm wearing the blue shirt of depression over the lost shirt because again, baseline BC did have an improvement by actually scoring points, but I mean, I'm still not feeling good about this loss. So yeah, Edmonton beat them 33 to 16. Yeah, it's just, but yeah, it's just I guess for kind of like a mini gut check for me. I mean, I still was talking with JF and Lucas throughout the game, but I was only giving them score updates and just half updates and everything. But yeah, it was just yeah, this is not a fun thing to watch through. It was just um, it just felt like this loss was another kind of death by a thousand cuts. Where I mean, I knew was going to be a losing effort by the third quarter because despite I mean, and I'll get into the recap. I mean, there was things happening for Edmonton that really made me think that BC could probably win this game, considering prior results with this quarterback. But yeah, um, yeah, it's just I mean, I guess just well, to summarize this loss, and I'll get in again. I'll get into this with the game recap, but. Yeah, the running game for Edmonton was in tip top form in this one, and just BC's defense was, again, it was they were too often on the field, and I just thought that I mean, Dolagala had an okay game. I mean, that was really it. It was an okay game. He didn't have any major errors like interceptions or fumbles or anything. I mean, he took a couple sacks. I mean, but just the offense was still pretty off from the last game, and it's going to show in the statistics. And I'm going to get to that right now. Bring it up here. It'll probably be a little quick. Okay. So yeah. So for BC, obviously the starting quarterback was Jake Dolagala because we learned from earlier on in the week that Adams was going to be injured for multiple weeks in a row, and yeah, again, Jake Dolagala only had a marginally better stat line than Adams because Adams was awful. But yeah, Dolagala went 14 for 33 for 146 yards, no touchdowns, no INTs, 6.3 average per throw. His longest throw was 26 yards. So, yeah, I mean, Dolagala did have a few incompletions that went deep, right? It's just the receivers either couldn't wasn't able to catch it, or Dolagala just put too much air into the ball when he was throwing it, right? So, yeah, it was, Dolagala does have a deep shot arm. It's just, the catches just never connected at all, right? It was all just short passes, and, yeah, wasn't a very, inspiring performance. It was okay, but could have. Yeah, and then Chase Bryce went in for garbage time, went 4 for 4, 41 yards, 10.3 average, 21 was the longest. So, yeah, yeah. Chase Bryce came into late in the fourth quarter. I mean, this was when I turned the game off, around 2 minutes left. But yeah, he had the longest catch in the game in garbage time, and then Dollar was in more of the game and only had 26 was longest. So, yeah, it was just wasn't there to see that. But anyways, yeah, for the running back statistics, Stanback, I thought he had one of his better games today, despite the loss. Again, anything was better than a Winnipeg loss, but Stanback went 13 carries for 87 yards. No touchdowns, 6.7 average, 21 yard, one the longest. And I believe that was on the first drive, so, yeah. And then he had 3 catches on 4 targets for 9 yards, so, I mean, yeah, he had a better game in this one. I'd say he's probably the best player on offense, but, I mean, not really saying much. Yeah, and then Mackey, the fullback, he had 3 carries and 13 yards and 1 touchdown for short yardage. And short yardage touchdowns were the name of the game in this one too. And yeah, I'll get to the receivers here too. Hollins went 2 for 3, 18 yards, no touchdowns, and obviously 9 average because there's only 2 catches, and his longest catch was 10. So Hollins just kind of continuing to disappoint again. I mean, yeah, just when the offense is stalling, they are stalling, right? They don't have much in terms of receiving yardage here. McInnes, he went 3 for 3 for 54 yards, no touchdowns, 18 average. The longest was 26, so again, he had the best game in terms of pure receiving stats, but it wasn't McInnes level of what I know he can do. But again, it was a backup quarterback playing in his first game. I mean, you don't really have much time to really settle into the playbook much. Yeah, Aberhart only had 1 target, no catches, so again, not even a meme catch again. But Barry Hill, I was most disappointed in his game. I mean, he definitely dropped a couple of catchable balls in this one. He only had 2 catches on 4 targets for 9 yards. I mean, he did have a couple catchable balls that he just dropped. He just thought about running before securing the catch. So I didn't like that much. And finally, Hatcher had 4 catches for 7 targets for 62 yards, 15.5 average, and 21 was the longest catch. So, yeah, I mean, overall, yeah, Hatcher and McInnes, they had okay games along with Dolagala, but it's just the offense just at times felt they were getting back into the bad habits from the Winnipeg loss, right? And that's, I'm gonna be pushing the panic button. I'm not sure if my co-hosts are gonna be pushing the panic button yet, but I told them I was pushing the panic button on this because, man, after the Saskatchewan loss, the offense it's just bone dry. Oh, no, I forgot about Katoya. Katoya had 3 catches on 4 targets for 28 yards, 0 touchdowns, 9.3 average, and longest 12. So, yeah, yeah, my point still stands. So, yeah. And then for the defense, I mean, they only had the 2 sacks, 1 interception, no fumbles, and one or 2 turnover. I think, yeah, 1 turnover on downs. Or actually, no. No, they had no turnover on downs. That was Edmonton. So, yeah. Yeah, but defense played okay, too. I mean, again, the score, they had 33 points put on them, but only really 2 touchdowns, and the rest felt like field goals. Or, yeah, just yeah, and the defense should played okay in the second half, but the first half, they were just allowing so many completions. I mean, it took until the middle of the third quarter for Edmonton's first incompletion, and I'll get into that when I get into the recap. But yeah, Tehama and Covington had one sack. Evans had the interception. TJ Lee had 8 tackles before he got injured, and Ayinde Ely with 6, and then everyone else had less than 5. Yeah, and then special teams, Sean White went 3 for 3, continues his BC Lions record streak to, I want to say, 43 straight field goals, 1 for 1 and extra points, so can't, you know, he's always a positive even in sucky losses like this one. Flintoff for punting stats, he had 5 punts that averaged 41.6 yards, and then Williams for kick return stats. I mean, Williams had quite a bit of a better game in this one. There were a couple of kick returns where if he had missed one more tackle, I think he would have had a touchdown or two. Right? Again, it's just the frustration with. He is so close to breaking a kickoff return or a punt return for a touchdown, but there's always that last guy that just manages to shoestring tackle him, and it's just. I am pulling my hair out of how frustrated I am for him. Right? I'm just. But yeah, he had 2 total return catches on special teams, 2 punt returns, and 6 kickoff returns, totaling 181 yards with an average of 25.3 for kickoffs and 14.5 for punt returns. So, yeah, he had an improved game. Which is about all you can ask for this guy. Again, I'm crossing my fingers he does gets at least one special team touchdown before the end of the year, but we'll see about that. So yeah. Now, I'm going to get into the Edmonton side of the stats, and normally this is where I would have my co-host be reading it, but I'll still be reading it from here. So, Trey Ford went 6 for 6 for 96 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions, 16 yards average per throw, 29 was the longest. And I also had 2 carries for 11 yards before he got injured in the middle of the first half. Then McLeod Bethel Thompson came in the rest of the way, went 14 for 18, 1 touchdown, 1 interception, 9.5 average per throw, and 26 was the longest. So, yeah, yeah, I'll get into the recap. I'll get into the recap about the injury thing. So yeah, and then I decided to put combined passing yardage and rushing yardage. So I want to make a point here. So the combined passing yardage between both quarterbacks was 267 yards. And then for running backs, Javon Leake had 21 carries. I think this is the story of the game for Edmonton here. Their running game was just lethal. Right? Javon Leake had 21 carries for 97 yards, 1 touchdown, 4.6 average per run. His longest was 15. And he had 4 catches on 4 targets for 37 yards, averaging 9.3. And the longest was 20, so. Yeah, Javon Leake was just absolutely everywhere, doing everything. Just tearing up the BC defense that was getting injured to hell later into the game. And then, yeah. Rankin contributed as well, had 7 carries for 77 yards, 0 touchdowns, 11 yards on average. 45 was the longest one for him. And he had his 1 catch for 17 yards, which ended up being a touchdown catch in and of its own. So running backs were the story of the game for Edmonton here. I'd give them, the MVP ball if I was their coach. Both of them. Yeah, and then Prukop, the short yardage quarterback, also had 4 carries for 7 yards and a touchdown too. So, yeah, it was all mostly rushing touchdowns that did it for Edmonton, and it was again combined rushing yards was 200, factoring in short yardage and QB runs. So it was it's just the defense. They were starting to fall apart pretty much near the end of the game, and it showed for how many times the running attack for Edmonton was just killing them. Yeah, and then receivers, Yeah, Mitchell, he had 3 catches on 4 targets for 20 yards, 6.7 average. Longest catch was 9. Tevin Jones went 6 for 6 for 123 yards, 20.5 yards on average, and his longest was 29. Gittins had 6 catches on 6 targets for 70 yards, 11.7 average, and his longest was 23. So, yeah, both quarterbacks spread the ball pretty evenly, and Jones had the most productive game, obviously, but yeah, just the receivers were spread easily, and yeah, just BC just couldn't find a way to stop them, right? I mean, it could have been a worse score than 33, I think, much like the Winnipeg game. Um, yeah, and then Edmonton's defense, I mean, they played fantastically too. They had 2 sacks, which was from Curtis and Oakman. No interceptions, no fumbles. 2 turnover on downs. Moncrief and Morgan with 7 tackles and Gray with 6. And everybody else got less than 4. So, yeah, defense did a really good job, holding back up, BC's in a bad position with their quarterbacking with Dolagala. And then before I get into special teams, I mean, again, I thought like this was probably the one game where I had a little more faith in Dolagala winning this, but didn't. Special teams, Boris Beatty went 3 for 4 on field goals, 2 for 2 on extra points. So I mean, he missed his first field goal, and then he was money the rest of the way. Julian for the punter, he only had 2 punts, averaging 52 yards. Purefoy for kick return stats went 3 catches on special teams for punt returns, and 1 for a kickoff. For punt returns, it was 12 yards for an average of 6, and then 1 kickoff return for 24 yards. Then Cobb pitched in 2 punt returns for 26 yards. So, yeah, I mean, it's funny how Williams I think he had the better of the special teams, but again, just didn't really do much I mean, it was really the running game that influenced Edmonton to win it for this. So, yeah, and of course, penalties as well. Penalties, BC had 6 for 75 yards, and Edmonton had 5 for 35. So obviously, BC's penalties had a lot more hurt to their penalties than Edmonton's was, which was frustrating to watch through. And I mean, especially in the fourth quarter. And time of possession, Edmonton, again, just like the Winnipeg game, I mean, Edmonton had 35 minutes and 39 seconds for time of possession, and BC had 24 minutes 21. So, again, in a win, it's just Edmonton had the most time of possession. Unlike the Winnipeg game where BC kept constantly going 2-and-outs. I mean, they kept 2-and-outs down to 3 or 4 2-and-outs, but again, there were multiple drives where they had a couple first downs and they were just forced to punt or kept kicking field goals, right? And with just again, only marginally better on offense. So, yeah. I'll just that'll be it for statistics. So, yeah, I'll just go for the game recap by myself. So for the first quarter, for TSN was telling, the TSN broadcast was telling that the Elks were actually a slight favorite over the Lions before the game, which it's funny considering, at the time, I mean, not now, they're a 2-win team, but yeah, Edmonton's a 1-win team and BC's a 5-win team, and the fact that Edmonton's favored at home, I mean, yeah, I imagine if Adams had been in there, I imagine the odds might have been swinging over to BC's favor just a little bit, but yeah, I thought it was interesting how Edmonton was the favorite despite being a 1-win team. The Lions got set to receive the kickoff. Williams took it to the 43. Then Mackey and Stanback with the longer run converts on the runs. McInnes converts for 15 on his first catch of the game. And it was a pretty run-heavy drive on first down. So far, McInnes was catching a bunch for 15, and then Stanback runs again for 9, and then Mackey converts on a short yardage run for the touchdown to take the lead 7-0 on a pretty balanced drive. I mean, that was pretty much the one highlight of the game for BC, was their opening touchdown drive, where they had a nice balance of run and pass. Yeah, that was the best looking drive. I mean, like, okay, pretty good start to the game so far, and then just couldn't maintain that the rest of the way, really. Um, yeah, it was a nice balance. I mean, I hope to see more of that against Winnipeg, but I'm not sure what the quarterback situation is going to be. I mean, yeah, I'm on a tangent. Purefoy then returned the kickoff to the 27. Ford escaped the defense and passes to get into convert for a first down. So when I say convert for a first down. Converts for 13. Prukop converts on third down on short yardage. Jones converts from a Ford when Ford was scrambling around to avoid TJ Lee's sack tackle for 20 yards, and he was wide open on that play. Then a Lions player got injured. It ended up being Bulliu, and that was the first of many, many defensive injuries to come. Uh, Bulliu was the replacement safety for, yeah, so that was an omen of things to come. Ford then gets sacked by Covington on second down, and then Beatty sets up for a field goal attempt, and then here's where he misses his 38-yard field goal, the only miss of the game for him to score Rouge to have the lead for BC to get to 7-1. The Lions take over on the 40. Stanback runs for 9, and then Mackey converts on short yardage for 5, and then Hatcher with a pretty slick one-handed catch to convert for the 15. I thought that was another pretty good highlight from him, at least. But then, unfortunately, Hollins drops the second down pass, like an easy, wide open second down incompletion, to force a field goal for Sean White to extend the lead to 10-1. And it was a weird looking field goal. I mean, it was drifting left for a few milliseconds, and I got a heart attack. I thought it was gonna be a miss, but no, it turned right back in, and the field goal was made. And that was the last play of the first quarter, so, BC having a 10-1 lead in the first quarter, right? I mean, that quarter felt like it went by pretty fast, but these next few quarters are, I have longer notes. So yeah, after that field goal was made and the start of the second quarter, Gittins immediately converts on a big chunk catch for 27. Then Leak had a hard run that converted for 12. I mean, I put these numbers in just as estimates, right, because they seem like long plays, but yeah, there's more detail on the CFL website, but I'm just putting these in as rough estimates. Edmonton, they gets penalized on offside on first down. Jones converts with a hard run after a catch for 35 yards, and then Leak runs through the Lions defense for a 12-yard touchdown to tighten BC's lead to 10-8, with the extra point being good. Yeah, and it was at that point, I mean, considering Trey Ford was in the game at that point, I mean, I'm like, oh my god, he's gonna just go off on this defense, right? It's just, I was worried about, again, Ford's play coming into this game, right? Like, I knew he was gonna go for at least 20 or more points in this game. I mean, I was wrong, but not in the way I wanted it to be. But yeah. So after Williams takes the kickoff to the 45, Edmonton's actually called on a rare kicking team penalty. It was an illegal chop block. It was an illegal chop block. You can't get down low to tackle or to block someone at the knees. So that's an extra 15 yards to take BC to the 40-yard line. I mean, they had extremely good field position, and then it only took 3 downs, and then Dolagala over. I didn't agree with this. Dolagala overthrew Hatcher for a turnover on down on third down and 5 on the 35, which I disagreed with. I mean, I thought, you have a really excellent kicker in Sean White. Just take the field goal to go up 13-1. Oh no, 13-8 to, be up by a possession for, they need to score a touchdown for a possession. But yeah, just Rick Campbell decides to go for it, and Dolagala just overthrows Hatcher, and with a turnover on downs. Ford then converts on a naked bootleg run for 10, and then BC gets penalized for illegal contact on second down for a 10-yard penalty. Get used to BC being penalized on second or so down too, because that was the first of many. Well, first of the few. Rankin converts on a 10 yards on a run, forward to Mitchell for an almost touchdown catch. But BC then gets called on pass interference, and Rugamba as he tugged Mitchell's jersey slightly just to affect his play. Or just to affect his play on the ball, and that's an easy PI call. I had no compunctions about that. Yeah, and that brings Edmonton down to 1, and then obviously Prukop did the short yardage touchdown to take the lead 15-10. And then I put here as BC's defense is looking like sieves after a decent start to the game. Choking a 10-1 lead. I mean, it was just... Well, I mean, it wasn't an extreme choke, but I mean, it was just... I mean, the offensive momentum was very much in Edmonton's favor from here on out, pretty much. And then on the kickoff, Williams takes the knee on the long kickoff to extend the lead on a rouge for Edmonton, 16-10. And then the Lions start to drive on a 40. After the rouge, Katoy hurdles over a defender to convert on second down for 10. I love hurdle plays, even if they don't mean much sometimes. And then Katoy catches another one for 12 to convert. Standback runs for 5, and then he catches for a loss of 4 on a screen pass, which I thought was pretty baffling, forcing BC to punt to Purefoy. Edmonton runs twice to convert as the 3-minute warning occurs, but then back-to-back Edmonton losses on offense forces them to punt as Ford gets sacked. And on Ford getting sacked on second down, that's when he gets injured and stays out for the rest of the game. I guess we'll find out if he's going to be out for some amount of time or if it's just going to be this game. But, yeah, it was on that sack that Joey Jackson, the coach for Edmonton, decides to challenge it. And then, that challenge fails because the BC defender only really had his hand on the shoulder, and then it hiked up to his helmet. And I mean, I can see the mentality behind that challenge, but just the challenge failed, and the punt was still going on, and then Williams recovers the punt and takes it to the 40, and then this was one of those punt returns that he could have easily ran it back for a touchdown had he not been tackled by the last guy. And then on BC's offense, ensuing possession, they get flagged for procedure on second down, and then they go 2 and out. Punt it back to Edmonton to the 33, and then McLeod Bethel-Thompson comes out here at quarterback, and Ford's in the 10. I mean, it might have been a concussion from the sack as he landed, but Bethel-Thompson comes out, and he throws to Jones to convert for 11. Leak gets tackled for a loss of 4 on first down by Halonic, but then he gets taken down again for 3 yards to force BD to kick a 51-yard field goal to extend the lead to 19-10, and that's the end of the first half. So, again, BC ended with a 10-1 field goal, and then in the first quarter, and then Edmonton ends with a 19-10 end of the half. So, I mean, it was at this point. I mean, at this point I was listening to the halftime show. I mean, we weren't getting any updates about Ford's status in the game, and I was thinking, like, okay, Bethel-Thompson's in the game. I mean, he's a little more shaky. I mean, he's coming off the bench for this one, and again, he's lost Edmonton a lot of these games. So, I mean, if BC is gonna nut up and shut up for this game, I mean, they have to do it now, and obviously, the score with the Jets, they did not nut up and shut up. No, they just shut up. So yeah, BC receives the kickoff for the third quarter again. I didn't think you could do that. I thought it was both teams get chances at the half, but no, BC gets both kickoff returns. Williams returns it to the 45. I was here that I learned from TSN Ford maybe out for the rest of the game. At least I would assume, and it was. McInnes converted on a first down pass for 20. Dolagala threw incomplete to Aberhart on his only attempt to Aberhart on an overthrow as White makes the 42-yard field goal to close the Elks lead to 19-13. Then on Edmonton's offense's ensuing possession, Leak gets tackled for a loss of 1, but then he converts on a catch for 11. Mitchell catches for 9, and he converts on short yardage to the 45. Jones catches a pretty incredible bobbling, like he bobbled the pass in his hand and then caught it for 20 for a first down. And then, just when I thought, oh man, Edmonton's looking pretty good here on offense, and then Deontay Evans intercepts McLeod Bethel-Thompson with... I mean, it was kind of the opposite setup. Where usually when you get intercepted in the end zone, it's the quarterback throwing into double coverage. But in this case, it was 2 Edmonton receivers, and Evans was right in the middle, and Bethel-Thompson just like threaded it right through the 2 receivers to get intercepted. So that was pretty unlucky on McBilt's part. Yeah, it was just kind of an unconventional way to get an interception. But I thought, like, okay, this is where BC gets the momentum back and starts to score some points here. And BC's offense did look pretty good on this drive. I mean, Katoy, Hollins, Hatcher were converting for more than 10 yards on different passes from Dolagala. You know, they were getting into a pretty good rhythm, but Stanback was running, and then he converted it for 20 yards. And, you know, they're in the red zone. I'm thinking, okay, here we go. We're going to take the lead. But unfortunately, they get stopped in the red zone on an incompletion And it was a promising-looking drive, but it forced White to kick the 18-yard field goal to close the Elks lead to 19-16. And from here on out, it's just Edmonton just locks it down on defense in terms of giving up points, and it was further compounded by the fact that for BC's defense, Hladek, Lee, and Beaulieu were out for the game with injuries, and Edmonton was clearly taking advantage of all these injuries on BC's defense as there was a bunch of first down runs for Leak and Rankin. On this drive there was a they got a first down, but then BC's defense was forcing Edmonton to punt to Williams, which he returns it for the 18. Dolagala throws a hard pass incomplete to Hatcher to force a 2-and-out here to punt to the 50-yard line, and then here's where Edmonton starts rolling here. He converts on a slow developing but catchable 20-yard pass, and then NBT throws incomplete on first down from being pressured to end the third quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, he gets pressured again to force an incompletion on second down to force Beatty to kick the 34-yard field goal to extend the lead to 22-16. BC's offense takes over on the 40, and then BC goes 2-and-out again as Berryhill is wide open, and he just drops the pass again. I mean, he was thinking about running before securing the ball in his hands, and just, never 2-and-out. And again, I was just thinking, these are back to bad habits with the Winnipeg game now. Like, I do not have faith in this offense anymore than I did after the Saskatchewan game. I'm like, what happened, right? What happened to this offense? I'm just stunned, wondering what the hell happened to this offense as Edmonton gets the ball. I mean, Leak was converting, Gittins was converting. Edmonton does get penalized for procedure on first down, but Gittins eventually converts on a catch for 15 on the first down pass. But then, MBT throws a pass to Lewis for his only, target of the game, but Peters does break it up to force Edmonton to punt. And, it forces Edmonton to punt, but unfortunately, BC special teams did an egregious roughing contact with the kicker penalty, and I think that was the moment where BC lost the game. Was that roughing the kicker penalty when they forced Edmonton to punt? Because after that, then the offense continued to roll down the field, and then Rankin eventually catches a ball. I mean, he fumbled the ball briefly, but then he recovered it in the end zone to like really ice the game for Edmonton, 30-18. The 2-point convert they tried to make it into a 3-possession game. I mean, they had a procedure. Edmonton's offense had a procedure, and then BC had an illegal contact penalty to even it out for Edmonton to get the 2-point convert, and it was, I just wanted this game to get over with. I mean, I was doing my due diligence, like I wanted to, I had the urge to, not stop the game after this, but, I wanted to see what would happen here, like just to see if BC would get another garbage time touchdown, but yeah, I should have turned the game off at this point. But Williams returned the kickoff to 23. Dalagala had the long path to Hatcher, but he couldn't catch it for incompletion on second down. I mean, and then I thought Rick was gonna have to force his hand to go for it on third down, but they punted, and that felt like a cowardly punt to me. Like there were definitely a few decisions from Rick Campbell that I left me scratching my head. The third down, for third and 5 in the first quarter was what really baffled me. But this was, this was even more baffling because again, you have to try for it on third down, but yeah, you punch it away anyways. And then Edmonton's offense goes up the field before and after the 3-minute warning. And then BD kicks a 30-yard field goal to extend the lead. 33-16. And then it was after that field goal, that was when I decided to end the game because I didn't need to watch the victory formation for Edmonton or garbage time for BC. So, I stopped updating here, and then BC drops to 5-4 in the season with their third straight loss, and it gave Edmonton their second win of the season. And all of a sudden, the West is looking pretty wide open right now. I'm confident in saying that I think the West is now like the weakest division of the league now. The East is the strongest one. Just Saskatchewan and BC are just stuck at 5 wins now. I'm gonna get into the past week's game. Last week's game, and then the past games on this week, and then I'll go into the preview for next week's game. So this BC is staying stuck at 5-4. They wasted an opportunity to jump over Saskatchewan to get to first place in the West, but I don't know. I'm getting the feeling that I think the West is kind of wide open now. Winnipeg starting to win some games. Edmonton's starting to win some games. Depending on the health of Trey Ford. Again, Trey Ford did get injured in the middle of the game, but, we'll see what happens if he's still able to play for next week. But, again, just McLeod, Bethel Thompson going in. I'm sure every Elks fan watching the game or in person or at home were thinking, like, oh, God, this is where we're going to choke and BC's going to find a way to win. But, Bethel Thompson, managed the game pretty well to end off. And, it was just a frustrating game to watch for BC's, from a BC fan's perspective. Because, something happened after the Saskatchewan game where just the offensive juggernauts, I don't recognize this team anymore from 4 weeks ago. From last month. So, I guess just review the games that were passed, and I'll just tell the games that I did watch. I did watch some of the Alouettes beating the Tiger Cats in Week 9, so that was last week. They won 33-16. Then this week, the Alouettes also beat. Well, yeah, it was a home and home, and the Alouettes beat the Tiger Cats twice, both with 33 points. So yeah, in the Alouettes, I mean, even if their backup quarterback Davis Alexander, I mean, they're still chugging along, right? They're solidly coached, and it's just wish I had that kind of confidence in my team and a backup quarterback. Yeah, Alouettes just taking advantage of the basement-dwelling Tiger Cats both times. The Elks, yeah, they got their first win of the season against the Rough Riders, 42-31. And then, yeah, obviously they beat us, so yeah, now they're back at 2-7 now. So, I mean, there's still a huge ladder to climb, but I get the feeling the Weathers going to be open for these guys, because again, Saskatchewan and BC are just a note constantly now. Feels like it. And speaking of, and yeah, for the last of Week 9, Argonauts and Stampeders won a home and home. For the last of Week 9 and this week in Week 10, Stampeders came back to win against Toronto at home, 27-23. So they were down 23. I want to say 23-0 at one point, and yeah, the Stampeders came back in the third and fourth quarter to win it, but the Argos got their revenge 2 days ago on Friday. They beat them 39-25 at home, so the Stampeders are also a bit of an enigma of a team right now. Where, you know, on the road they're awful, but at home they're undefeated, so no. Law of averages would say that the Stampeders would be like a 500 team by season then, by being undefeated at home, but I guess we'll see. Yeah, and then the Red Blacks and Rough Riders. So the Red Blacks were coming off their bye week to play the Rough Riders, and they actually finished it in a tie. And I was gonna save like a discussion with the co-host for talking about the command center, but I'm gonna save it for another time. We'll see if it's the command center is still gonna be a talking point by next week. I was gonna save talking about it with them for these games, but yeah, Red Blacks Rough Riders, that was a crazy game that ended in a tie. And of course, Argos Stampeders also had some command center issues with fumble, but yeah, Red Blacks and Rough Riders ended in a tie in overtime, and that was an adventure and a half that we all three of us watched. Yeah, so that was the review of the past couple weeks, and then next week, BC once again will be playing on Sunday against the Blue Bombers, but I'll get to the other three games. So Red Blacks and Stampeders for Thursday night football on the 15th. Considering the Stampeders are at home, I'm pretty sure they'll be favorited. I see no reason why not pick them if you're doing pick'ems. I used to do pick'ems, but not anymore. Yeah, I got a feeling the Stampeders are going to win that one, but I'm hoping Ottawa pulls through. Alouettes and Rough Riders, yeah, best in the West with best in the East, but I mean, I think the Alouettes are going to be heavily favored in this one, just depending on if Trevor Harris will return to the Rough Riders or not. And if Cody Fajardo is good to go for the Alouettes at any point too, but I don't see why you would continue to stick with a hot hand for Alexander until he fails, I guess. And then, yeah, Saturday you got the battle of the bottom feeders in Edmonton and Hamilton, but I think Edmonton might have a slight edge in this one. I mean, yeah, if Edmonton wins, they'll be going up to 3-7, and then, yeah, they'll be counting on the Bombers to beat the Lions. So, yeah, I do think Edmonton could probably win that game with or without Trey Ford, and with McLeod Bethel Thompson, right? Because yeah, he had a good game. Right? He had a game managing kind of game, but yeah, if he continues to play as good as he did in this one, I do think Edmonton will win that one. And then yeah, finally, Bombers and Lions. I mean, we said this before in the Bombers, before the last Bombers game. I mean, like, it feels like every single game in August is going to be extremely important for the Lions, right? And this one's no exception, because, again, the title of this video is Panic Button, because, again, BC's lost 3 straight, and Winnipeg's coming off a bye week, and yeah, Winnipeg's coming off a bye week, so, I mean, the shoe's kind of on the other foot for them. Well, the last game, it was BC that was coming off a bye week, heading into Winnipeg, and getting shut out and losing terribly. And now the shoe's on the other foot, where Winnipeg is coming off of their bye week, heading on the road into BC. So, I mean, a lot could happen between now and then. I mean, Nathan Work did just get released by the Falcons from the practice squad, so I don't know. I mean, does management push the panic button and try to coax back Nathan Work to be the quarterback, or do they just give up on that because he's always signing on practice squad with different NFL teams? Or do they just get, it all depends on what Work decides to do next, right? But again, I wouldn't be surprised if, seeing what Dolegala put up, again, like I said, he ends an okay game, but I think BC really needs, BC just really needs a star caliber quarterback like Adams or Work back at any point. It would be a crazy storyline if he does manage to, if he does come back, but that's just wishful thinking. Again, I just get the feeling it's probably going to be Dolegala again, but yeah, this is just going to be it's a really important game for both teams, because if the Bombers beat the Lions again, and it's going to be bringing me back bad memories of last year, right? Yeah, then the Bombers will be at 4-6, and then BC will be sent back down to 500. So yeah, BC has to win this game to avoid 500 and keep up with the Riders. Either keep up with the Riders, like if they beat Montreal, or take over first place in the West again, right? So yeah, yeah, next week is going to be pretty interesting, I think. So yeah, yeah, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully, we'll be able to get JS and Hammer back for next week's episode, but yeah, that's going to be it for me. So you can reach us on our socials, on Instagram and Twitter by the same name, at Section 214 Pod. And if that's not your cup of tea, then you can reach us through email. So Gmail is at SECTIONTWOFOURTEEN at gmail.com. Yeah, I'll see you around next week, and thanks for watching, and go Lions!